He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. You can download that. It's free in your phone, and you can watch and listen to our program daily in its entirety. 12 to 2 o'clock is when we're live, and then we're always available after that, even if you're up all hours of the night. Just roll over and plug us in, man. And you can catch us anywhere in the world through the app, also at jbandgoldwatershow.com. Across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Phone number 843-321-8893. And that is also our text line, and it is open and available to all of you. And it'll be closed in just a little while. We have 3 straight guests today, 12:30, 1, 1:30, all good ones, all frequent visitors of our program, and very kind and good gentlemen, as a matter of fact, very handsome guys. Cory McCartney will join us at 12:30 in Atlanta. You might have heard, baseball is in the middle of a little bit of a sticky era. We'll talk to Cory about some of that and what's been going on this week. And the Braves, they split the series with the Mets, so it could have been worse, could have been better, but it could have been worse, certainly. And then we've got Mike Morgan coming up at 1:05 today, generally on Tuesdays around here, but mic'd up with Mike Morgan, powered by Wando Power Equipment, has been backed up a couple of days. He likes to travel, if any of you haven't heard. And so we'll get him in Atlanta, and then Scott Glaze at 1:30 today, and we're going to get to some golf there. So with all that being said, we got the College World Series. We got some finalists for the LSU job, the name, image, and likeness chaos. Isn't it amazing, Darren? I mean, think about this for a second, right? Like, think about it. You and I know that in the world that we live in, things can get kind of chaotic. You got to adjust, and media is that's just how it is. But like, we're pretty prepared. I mean, we know what's coming. Like, we know what's down the road. I mean, I would think anybody that runs a business is probably fairly prepared for things. Does the NCAA prepare for anything? They've known this is coming, and it's the final week, and it's like, well, I think we're going to do I think we'll do this.
At least it's sort of like what I've been asking. Can't
That's true.
You just make it simple?
Very
and I
good.
don't know if it'll work. There are going to be speed bumps. Of course there will be. There'd be speed bumps if this was a universal thing that came down from the president, let alone Congress. But now this is just basically going to be 6 states, maybe 1 additional, maybe 2, but basically 6 states that have state laws passed on July 1 for name, image, and likeness. Every school in those states will have to follow those laws, and every other state will either be defined by the state, the leagues, something like that, to make up your own mind, which is basically what I've been asking the NCAA to do, and just in some hope of not pay for play, don't let boosters involved, and move forward that way. I still think the social media aspect is going to be the biggest aspect, aside from the major names that everybody knows. But this is simple. I don't know how bad the speed bumps will be, or the potholes, or the caves. Yeah. I don't know. We can work our way through that, but it's possible that the NCAA has backed their way accidentally into the best case scenario for enacting NIL.
That's an interesting point to make there, Darren. And I've agreed with you for very long on this. The KISS method generally works, and why not keep it that way? Keep it simple, stupid. And the NCAA has complicated this to no end because of their lack of action, as we know quite well over the last couple of years and even prior to. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, my biggest question with all this is, once next Thursday hits, how is it being policed? I mean, if some kid decides, I'm committing to Oklahoma because he had a guarantee of the local car dealer who happens to be a major booster there, and this isn't uncovered until 6 months down the road, and say he's a transfer, Darren, maybe he's transferring in from God knows where. I'm going to go to Oklahoma because this guy has slipped me a letter in the mail that says if you sign with the Sooners, I'm going to pay $100,000 a month to drive around my trucks. And then we find out after the season that kid broke the rules. Who's policing this, and what happens? I mean, what happens to the kid? What happens to the booster? What happens to the school? Nobody has that answer, which is what I am most fearful of. So we're going to talk to Mike Morgan about some of that today. Something else, there's a couple of other angles I want to get to with this as well, Darren. Say we had name, image, and likeness. Let's cut it short, not forever, but let's just say the last 20 years or so. Mm-hmm. What athletes, not just football players, obviously those are going to be the ones that generally come to mind the most, but what athletes across America would have capitalized the most? And keep in mind, Instagram followings weren't around when Reggie Bush played for the Trojans of Southern Cal. So how would they have capitalized? Would it just be traditional media, things like that? The other question I have is, how will future professional drafts be affected by this? Let me throw a scenario at you. All right, so Darren Goldwater is a junior, probably right now being projected at most after the combine, 3rd round. Pretty good spot for a guy to be drafted, right?
I'll take it.
You're going to take the money generally and not risk going back to school and having a big injury or something like that. Okay. But what if the endorsement money from name, image, and likeness is more in college than that initial deal with no guarantee of making a roster in the NFL would be? Because what if that's the case in basketball? Think about all these freshmen that declare every year, and some of them end up being 2nd-round guys. Some of them end up PJ Dozier, for instance. What if his name, image, and likeness deal at South Carolina would have meant more money in his pocket as a student athlete at Carolina, as opposed to taking a flyer on a 2nd-round draft pick and floundering around for a couple of years? Don't you feel like this is going to come somewhere? I'm not saying it's a bad thing for anybody. I don't know. Everybody decide what's best for you. That's fine. I don't really care. But it will certainly change maybe some of the decision making than what we've seen in the past. From what we've seen in the past.
It's a good point. I haven't thought about it, and I do think that's a positive in the end, because then you have the opportunity as Darren Goldwater, the 3rd-round junior, and I'll take myself out of this and into basketball here in a second, because I think that's where it'll be more impactful. The money that you probably get as a 3rd-round NFL draft pick would be enough and enticing enough, and the contract and the possibilities would probably be enough for me to say, whatever me 3rd-rounder is about to get. I mean, how much of a star am I in college as a potential 3rd-round draft pick, right? It depends on the school I'm at, the position I'm playing, but I'm a potential 3rd-rounder. I'd probably go NFL. NBA, and I'll go WNBA, drastically different, because there aren't those roster spots. Yeah, baseball too. Baseball, you'll get that even more so with kids coming out of high school and debating if they want to sign or if they want to go to college, which is what they're doing now, but now there'd be incentive to go to college. And then again, when you're eligible, the WNBA, there are a lot of girls that get drafted and they don't make teams. So I'm not certain of their eligibility, if they can come out 1 year early or not. Basketball wise, absolutely, man. Would this hurt the one and done philosophy?
Probably.
It's possible, because why throw your name into the draft, go through the process, not be able to come back, then you're done. Then you're maybe floundering around in the G League, maybe you're going overseas, but wouldn't you take your college experience if you're a star? There are lots of stars, basketball, that get drafted that don't make it. Wouldn't you take your eligibility and some money? And I'll throw this one at you too, because my first thought, Olympic sports. Michael Phelps, right? Back in his day, I'm not sure if Instagram was around. I don't think so. Do you give up your amateurism, Simone Biles? Do you give up your amateurism prior to accepting your endorsement deals, or do you hang on to it a little bit because you're already making some money?
Yeah, very interesting questions. I mean, full transparency from my brain, I had no idea who Simone Biles was until she was an Olympian. Now, in saying that, if NIL was around, maybe I would have.
Mm-hmm.
So, you just don't know. There will be things that change, but I agree with you. And there's going to be
LA girls, right? The last two, I don't know their names, but the floor routine girls that are going nuts with these insane routines. So maybe if Biles was around then, we would at least know of who she was prior to stardom.
Right. Yeah. So I agree. And I think that folks that would argue it the way that I just argued it, well, I didn't know who they were before, so it wouldn't have mattered. Well, yeah, but with name, image, and likeness, you may have. And that's I think what the point that you're making here is that that's the point of all of this. Yeah, we didn't know who they were, but capitalizing on your name, image, and likeness allows us to know who folks like that are. A little bit outside of our comfort zone, the box that we follow: football, basketball, baseball, whatever. And there will be moments that create name, image, and likeness opportunity. And you don't have to be a great player, or you don't have to be a great athlete in your sport. Maybe you're the kid who came off the bench because Johnny twisted his ankle in the Final Four, and you've played all of about 7 minutes that year, and you throw up a Hail Mary 3 from 60 feet, and it goes in to head to the national championship. Nobody ever knew who you were, let alone across the country, let alone maybe many in your own fan base. All of a sudden, you're a household name because you just drew a sponsorship deal with God knows who. I don't know. I don't know. That's the point, though. It's like these moments in sports. There are great moments in sports every year of kids we've never heard of in every sport. We're watching a platform right now, the College World Series, where Warren Morris was essentially a nobody, but Warren Morris's home run would have made him the greatest thing to ever hit the sport of college baseball. So I'm thinking what Whit Merrifield could have done. He had a great year, but what if that would have happened his sophomore year? Whit Merrifield would have gone to pretty good player for South Carolina to making a bunch of money and a household name across the country.
How about Michael Penix Jr. in Indiana? You may have known the name of the starting quarterback, but then the picture of him diving for the pylon goes viral. Then what happens? How do you monetize that? Because there's got to be some way. There's got to be some apparel company. There's got to be some, I don't know, pylon cam, some technology company that could turn that into massive dollars for Penix, because he's the guy who's in that still shot. Whether or not you think he scored, and I've been very honest saying as a Penn Stater, I think he did. Either way, that's a still shot for the ages. That would make him lots of money some way, somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the guy that took the photograph? Hey, you made the money because of me. I want the money. I mean,
he could sell that picture, though. It's possible that he's one of the guys that can sell that picture to like Sports Illustrated or something.
Yeah, it's absolutely exactly. So, yeah, things are changing, absolutely, and we're going to talk more about it today. I'm interested to see what Mike Morgan has to say about some of this as well. Again, we're about a week away, and then here it is. Name, image, and likeness will be here in whatever form it looks like, in whatever state you're in, for that matter. Again, 843-721 843-321-8893. 843. You know why I did that? Because I was saying to myself a little while ago, God, don't do that again. 843-321-8893, our phone number. Also, our text line. Cory McCartney ahead in about 15 minutes or so. You can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. I don't have any on today, but if you're interested in our collections, the It's Time for Carolina Football collection, or some of our JB and Goldwater products, you can get 15% off of any of that. Head to the website. It'll take you right to our store. And there is look at the top of the screen. There's a code for 15% off of anything you order through the 4th of July. A lot of folks yesterday interested in some of the things that we've got. And on Wednesdays, at least for the next couple of weeks, our It's Time for Carolina Football series will continue with our good buddy Keith Alsep, who hosts the Locked on the Gamecocks podcast. All right, Craig, I see your tweet there, or excuse me, your message. Hope Beamer's welcome home last night means Prunty. Let him know he's coming. He announces this weekend. That would be the transfer corner from Kansas. I know who the first welcome home is that announced yesterday while we were on the air with JC Sherbert.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the second one is. I don't believe, but I might. Not that I would give any of that information away, and I'm not saying that you are wrong, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I do think South Carolina fans will be pretty happy here in the next couple of weeks once some of this information begins to disperse. All right, last night in the College World Series, another one. We're having one tonight, and last night there was only one game, so that should tell you how good it's been. And tonight, maybe more of the same with Texas and Virginia. If you missed what happened at the end of the Vanderbilt-Stanford baseball game in Omaha, wow. Sometimes heartbreak is just part of it. And if you're Stanford today, you are just you probably didn't want to wake up. You probably wanted to sleep right through the rest of the College World Series, Darren. For those that don't know what happened, Vandy last night down to their final strike. They are down 5-4 in the bottom of the ninth inning, 2 outs, a 3-2 count on, I believe it was a pinch hitter. He walks. They get another pinch hitter who hits a little Punch and Judy infield single, basically. The throw is wide of the bag. It allows the first runner who had walked to reach third. So the Commodores have runners on the corners, first and third, with 2 outs. And the SEC's freshman of the year, Enrique Bradfield Jr. at the plate, and he bounces a single into right to tie it. And that allows for the second pinch hitter to go from first to third. Bradfield is at first. And then a 1-0 count on the 2-hole hitter for Vanderbilt. A breaking ball escapes the arm of the ace of the Stanford Cardinal staff to the backstop over the head of the catcher, and a wild pitch scores the winning run for Vanderbilt, and they survive, and they'll get 2-0 NC State at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon on ESPN2. Mississippi State will face the winner of tonight's elimination game between the Longhorns and the Wahoos. But, I say the same thing every year, Darren, and you probably do as well, except for in 2020 because I didn't play. Wow, what a World Series. Literally, I say it every year, and there's always something great to look back on. 6-5 last night. The Mississippi State wild 6-5 win on Tuesday night. The NC State 1-0 win on Monday. The 2-1 State-Texas game on Sunday. The Vanderbilt 1-run win over Arizona on Saturday. I mean, this has just been splendid.
Yeah. I'm not one who quickly jumps to, and I've said this many times, like best all time, and let's compare this to that. I'm more in the moment. I know that this in Omaha right now is awesome. Every game. And it's not just these 1-0, 2-0, or 2-run pitchers duels. There are seemingly insurmountable late inning leads that are not insurmountable. There's like magic in Omaha this year, and there's complete and utter, well, I don't want to say chaos, but heartbreak, like you said. I think there's a combination of both of them. The teams that are around right now, let's just put the teams we know have advanced. So you've got Vanderbilt, which Rocker should have lost, and somehow their offense wins that game. They were a mess last night. Corbin eviscerates the guys. You rarely see Corbin do that. He does that in the dugout. They still, you just gave the whole sequence down to their final strike and somehow manufacture a run and then a wild pitch to win it. Then you got NC State. I mean, how this is all happening individually is a great story. And then tonight, if you want to extend that story, Virginia's 6-0 in elimination games in this postseason.
Yeah.
Are they going to make it 7-0? Are they going to get one game away from the College World Series championship series? They're going to have to make it, I guess, 8 in a row to do that.
It would be really a fantastic story. There's no question. Going back, you mentioned Rocker. So here's the setup is there now for NC State and Vandy tomorrow at 2. Rocker's going to pitch this game. All right, because he's had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's had 5 days rest. So he's going to be set to go tomorrow. So the Wolfpack knows what lies in front of them and maybe the best arm in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They just beat 1A or 1B, depending on how you look at them, and Jack Leiter on whatever day that was. I think it was Monday.
2 days ago, yeah.
1-0, right?
Yeah.
Monday, yeah. Okay, so 3 days ago. Can NC State – think about that. Hold on. Can NC State beat both Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker in the World Series? Come on, man. The odds have got to be against you, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and here's the other part. If, let's say, Vandy wins tomorrow, let's say they beat NC State, and then, of course, they're going to have to come back and play again on Saturday, okay? Well, Leiter pitched Monday, so he'd have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He'd be on 4 days rest. Are they going to get Leiter again? I think so, probably. And so, with Vanderbilt, it's one of those things where you're going to, if you just got to go with your guys to try to get to a championship series, if you can get there, and then, maybe you have Leiter for a little bit in game 3. If you have a game 3, he's not going to be able to go game 1. Neither's Rocker, but maybe Rocker can go game 2. I don't know. They'd be on short rest, so we'd have to see how that works. But you have to get there is the point. And their backs are against the wall. So NC State, to get to the championship series, are going to have to probably beat Rocker. And if they don't beat Rocker, then probably have to beat Leiter again. I mean, you think like this is a monumental climb for the Wolfpack, but man, the way that they've looked and the way they've performed, I don't know that I want to count them out. I just don't. Anybody else at this point in time, I'd probably say it's not going to happen. You're not going to beat them, both of them, but I don't think so. I don't know. NC State, they've got it rolling.
They've already beaten Arkansas in the series, right?
Yeah.
The general assumption was you can't beat Rocker and Leiter together. Well, maybe you just can't. Maybe NC State's the team that can. The numbers they've already put up here. The only team since 99 to beat the number 1 ranked team, that'd be Arkansas, and the defending champ in the same postseason, that'd be Vanderbilt. They've done that. Yeah. So what next do you want to just check off the list if you're NC State? And typically, if I hadn't seen the way Vanderbilt's last 2 games went, I would tell you that, or I guess there are 3 here. I would tell you that, yeah, if you have to burn Kumar and Leiter again just to get to the championship series, burn would be a wrong way of putting it. Use that doesn't shape up well in the series, but they've already proven they're winning. The game they lost was Leiter's game, and they didn't offensively produce. They're winning because their offense is taking care of their inept fielding last night, or their pitcher who hasn't been at his best, like Rocker in game 1. Their offense has been carrying them in Omaha, not their star lineup of pitchers.
Yeah, and it's been a combo of both all year because, offensively, the Vanderbilt has been sensational all year long. I mean, there just aren't outs in the lineup, and they put so much pressure on you. They have speed. They can hit for power. They go first to third. They swipe bags well. They can bunt. I mean, they could do so many things. And then of course last night you always have to have some luck. Tony Scholes said it last Friday on our program. You got to have some luck in Omaha, and they happened to have some last night. Did Vanderbilt on their side, and they won. I mean, they have not looked like the Vanderbilt that I watched all year. But when you get to Omaha, anything can happen. And we've seen this. Fresno State won the national championship in 2008, boys and girls. They were a 4 seed in a regional. They were one of the last teams in the tournament, and they won the national championship. So, I mean, South Carolina was down to their last strike in 2010, and then 22 games later in the postseason, they won every game. I mean, you just don't ever know how it's going to work out. So, this is – I'll say this, though. I tweeted it last night. For all the SEC brethren, boys and girls out there, I'm always in your corner. I'm an SEC guy. I wouldn't call myself an SEC snob by any means, but I support the Southeastern Conference, always have and always will. But there isn't a fiber in my soul that's going to support Vanderbilt in the College World Series. I can't stand them. I don't want them to win. I don't like the whistling guy. There's nothing personal with anybody on that team. They've won a couple of national championships already, so good for them in the last decade. I don't want to see them win this thing. I don't care that they're in the SEC. If they're the last man standing, I'll be disappointed. So that's the fan side of me saying, no, NC State, go ahead and beat Vanderbilt and get into the national championship, hopefully against Mississippi State.
Just the pure fan in me will tell you I don't want to watch another game and hear that guy whistling. I don't know, Vanderbilt fans. Do Vanderbilt fans, and this is a genuinely honest question. If you're watching on TV or if you're at a Vanderbilt baseball game, I have not been at one. Does he annoy you too? I mean, does he drive you nuts, or are you just willing to say whatever? That's what we do, because I don't know. It's maddening. And I feel for every producer and director and audio tech broadcasting these games, because trust me, they don't want it on either. They're doing everything they can, and he beats them.
Yeah, I don't know if he just like moves around and finds the closest mic or something. I mean, I'm sure there's some that they don't like it, but there's a lot of folks in the stands that clap to it. You know what I mean? That's their rallying cry essentially. Whatever, man. Yeah, I can't stand it. I think about. I guess they're allowing them. I'm not sure. I haven't paid attention, but think about this for a second. So if you look at the bracket, right, you could realistically have Vanderbilt and Mississippi State in the national championship series.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you are just the casual fan from Council Bluffs, Iowa, or Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever, and you're just, hey, I want to go be a fan, and we're going to the national championship, and the Commodores and the Bulldogs end up in it, you'd have whistling guy, and then you'd have cowbell.
Give me cowbell all day.
I hear you, but I've been around it all, and it's all obnoxious. So if you're just trying to enjoy a game and you got whistling guy over here and then you got cowbell dude over this way, you're like, the hell with this crap. I'm going to go home and watch it on TV.
This is like old school rock, paper, scissors. Cowbell beats whistle. It beats it in sound. You won't hear whistle guy if you got cowbell guy or a group of cowbell guys. Yeah. And it's more of like a thick, deafening sound than a periodic on tune, like, what's it, a metronome? Is that thing that goes it's something like that.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean,
but it's awful. So at least I get the pounding of the cowbell and not just this periodic, however he whistles,
dude. Yeah, but have you ever been around? I've never been to Starkville, but like when Mississippi State has come to Columbia, when they all bring them. It is really obnoxious. I mean, it's pretty obnoxious.
I bet, especially in your stadium, in a visiting stadium. You got to hate this. Got to drive you nuts.
It's obnoxious. And I'm not like, I respect tradition. And I respect that. But like, it's obnoxious. I mean, if I had to make a list of like, and I'm sure that people who aren't Gamecock fans would have South Carolina does, the Rooster Crow or something. I know a lot of college football players have said that publicly. My God, that rooster still, rings in my ear as loud as they play it and things like that. But like, if I had to make a list of the most annoying traditions just in this league alone, the cowbell's up there. I think the folks in Georgia and Athens that act like they're dogs and bark in your face is probably number one. I know there's a lot of people that get annoyed by Woo Pig. I like it. I think it's pretty neat. I think I enjoy it.
That's fine. I get the Georgia fans, but that's a group. It's not they're in your face if they're jumping at you. So that's
they're
fine.
drunken in your face.
The most annoying thing that I can think of off the top of my head that a fan base in college does the Vandy Whistler, and it's not even the fan base, right? It's like one guy, unless there's multiple. I don't know if there's a couple different guys who can travel. I don't know,
no,
but
it's one guy.
Okay, that guy is the singular most annoying sound in college sports.
That's we'll have to come up with a top 10 for this. The top 10 most annoying, I guess, traditions or whatever it is. Top 10. Your most annoying top 10 list in college athletics?
The Michigan in a stadium that we've talked about, it doesn't get that loud. They can put billions of people into that place, but it never really gets that loud on third downs because it's a key play. They take their keys out and they shake them.
Yeah.
So stadium that's not that loud, you hear this light, faint tingling of keys. It's dumb. That could be a biased statement.
Go to the swamp one time and have the Jorts guy walk by you and chomp in your face while you're just trying to enjoy a cheeseburger. That's always a nice thing to see. All right. Well, none of the guys on our show are annoying. We know that. Cory McCartney, Mike Morgan, Scott Glaze in succession. We're going to get to our post-up careers resume in just a little while. There are 3 finalists, it appears, for the LSU coaching position. They're all really spectacular names. So we'll get to all that probably with Mike Morgan coming up around 1 o'clock this afternoon. It is Thursday. Buy one, get one. Half off footlong cheesesteaks at DB's Cheesesteaks. If you're in the low country of South Carolina, today's the day to buy them. Because you get to save some cash. Any cheesesteak on the menu at DB's in Avondale and West Ashley. Make sure you check out that entire menu. It'll make your mouth water. If you don't believe me, try it. DB'scheesesteaks.com, or it's also on our website as well, jbandgoldwatershow.com. All right, when we get back, Cory McCartney in Atlanta, we'll get into some of this stuff going on in Major League Baseball. We'll talk about the Braves. They just split that series with the Mets and much more. So hang tight. JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with 0 down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump? Strike 2! If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to BCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating tabs all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and awesome.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you. In Nash, Vegas, Tennessee. Hello, Cory McCartney. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
Oh, you're a little subdued today. Has somebody checked you for the sticky stuff?
My kitchen's being remodeled right now, so my dad's in there, my wife's in there. I'll be in there when I'm done with this. So it's a lot going on, and the household right now.
What do you?
If you have spider tack, you can put stuff up well so that you know where things go.
Gorilla glue, whatever you want to call it. Yep.
Did they check your belt line before you walked into the kitchen?
They usually do.
Well played, Cotton. I like that. All right, Cory McCartney in Atlanta, Georgia, 12:35 on this Thursday afternoon. So we'll get the Braves in a minute. They split the series with the Mets, Corey. They haven't fallen any further back at this point in time, so that's good. But let's start with the spider tack and how things are going in baseball this week. We've seen some interesting moments. Obviously, the Scherzer moment is the one that's really standing out for everybody. But overall, and Manfred has issued a statement. Hey, it looks pretty good. Overall, your thoughts on what we've seen the last 4 days?
Yeah, I sort of picture Rob Manfred in that famous gif where there's like the dog with the hat on and there's like fire all around him and he says, "It's fine. This is fine. This is fine." I mean, I kind of feel like that's where he's at right now because, I mean, we've talked about this before. There is a CBA negotiation happening this winter and you are, I mean, just setting ablaze the relationship you have with a certain percentage of the players you're trying to negotiate with. So, and a guy who's one of the leaders of that group in Max Scherzer. So, I don't know. I mean, look, I liked the fact that Manfred said that they're working on a solution and they think that they could have some kind of a substance that could be an approved substance for pitchers to get a grip on a ball. But we talked about this last week. It made no sense to do this in season, and I think the pitchers are demonstrating that when you see like Max Scherzer and Romo going out there and showing you just how much this infuriates them for this to be an in-game thing in the middle of the season.
So the spin rates though are going down. The averages are going up. The on base, the slugging, the offensive numbers are going up since the initial memo on June 3rd. So Manfred's saying it's going well because they're getting possibly the intended consequences. Do you think they're getting the intended consequences, or is this like a blip on the radar?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think ultimately what will happen is and this is a lot like what we saw during the PED epidemic, was that guys found a new way. And I think you'll find ultimately guys who want to cheat will find a new way to cheat. But isn't it ironic, though, that what he wants is more offense? Like if you're a pitcher, the guy who is currently the National League leader in the odds for MVP is a pitcher.
Right.
But is that not what Rob Manfred wants? He has no interest in seeing Jacob deGrom, dominating out there. I mean, he wants offense. So what's he saying about a percentage of the populace of the sport that he oversees? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just seems weird to me that we're all of a sudden just negating the fact that, we can't have an era of dominant pitching. We have to find a way to get the offense back up.
I mean, if that's part of the equation, I go back to something, and I get it, easier said than done, but I go back to something I've said for a long time. Whit Merrifield tweeted this months ago. You want offense to go up? Pay the guys who don't just try to hit home runs. I mean, pay guys who are going to hit 280 or 290, and they might hit 15, 20 home runs, but they're also not going to go up there and strike out 200 times a season. But they're not paying those guys like they pay somebody to hit 230, but they hit 40 home runs last year. So until there's a financial incentive on the offensive side of the baseball to maybe change your approach a little bit. I know that guys are really good. Pitchers are throwing 100 miles an hour left and right. I get all that. But these are also professional hitters. They know how to hit. And if you incentivize them to do things other than leave the yard, I think you'll see offensive numbers change. That's my personal take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely, a lot to back that up. I mean, look at, when you look at all the guys who are currently, your leaders in WAR, I mean, I don't expect that we're going to get anybody to hit 400 anytime soon. But when you look at the guys who are in the top 20 in the league, the closest guy you have anywhere sniffing that is 340 from Vlad Guerrero Jr., right? I mean, it's obviously we're getting towards the All-Star break. If somebody was doing it, hitting 400 right now in a full season, people would be, that would be a talking point. But the fact that we don't even have anybody close to it, I mean, this is a sellout, 3 true outcome era of baseball. And certainly the guys who are getting paid and the guys that we're focusing on, the guys who are the most productive hitters in baseball certainly speak to that 3 true outcome era.
Absolutely. It's trickled down too, Corey. I mean, you're in youth baseball, and I'm not saying that, you got a bunch of 12-year-olds out there who are just trying to leave the yard all the time, but you have to coach through it. I mean, they see it. This is what the college guys see it. That's reflected a lot in the college game as well. Let me go back to something you said a minute ago, though. They're trying to come up with an improved substance. Why not just approve the sticky stuff, the tic tac or tic tac, whatever it is.
Spider tack.
Why?
Yeah,
what's the difference? I don't understand.
I would bet you it's so extreme, and that they probably want something that's more of a middle ground, right? I mean, if it's between rosin and spider tack, like what's the middle ground that they can live with in terms of what works for the pitcher, but what isn't too aggressive enough that the batters feel like they're at that things are overwhelmingly against them. So, but that's a conversation for the winner, right? That's where you're able to work with both sides and figure things out. That's again why I just don't get it. Doing this now, unless this really does boil down to what kind of an approved substance becomes part of this winner's conversation. Oh, you guys didn't like the fact that you didn't get to use anything. Let's talk about that this winter while we're also figuring out how much revenue share there's going to be. The fact that there's going to be an additional round of the postseason and more teams get in, that we're going to be talking about a designated hitter sticking around. All those talking points, are going to be part of this winter. And to me, the timing of this is just so bizarre.
I've been saying that from the start. I mean, to Jamie from the very beginning, that what they're doing is driving apart the players' union and creating a bargaining advantage when they get there. But on field, can the umps really enforce this? It looks to me, as frustrated as guys like Scherzer and Romo have been, and that's been pretty public, other guys have been more willing, let's say. But it looks like the umpires are just saying, okay, I mean, guys are showing them the belt, the inside of the pants, the hat. They're looking at it and moving on. I mean, can they enforce it? Are they really trying that hard?
I think that was something that we had talked about a little bit last week, was like how extreme this thing gets is because Rob Manfred can set up high and decide whatever he wants to in terms of this is how we operate as a league. But unless the umpires, the ones who are actually policing it, want to go out there and be over the top about it, you're going to get a lot more of what you saw. During the Cardinals and Tigers game yesterday before the game, Jerry West goes out there and it just seemed like a very cursory look into the glove, into the hat. I mean, I think that's going to be a lot more like, how over the top are you with this? And if you're not, I don't think the umpires are going to step in too much. Now, obviously, situations like Joe Girardi and Max Scherzer, those are going to be your extreme levels of it. I just don't see the umpires, taking this to, because I think they probably, would tell you it's a little bit ridiculous to be doing it too, and asking them to be the ones that are ultimately holding this thing up for Rob Manfred, because it's not a matter of whether or not you hate the rule and whether you think it's ridiculous. How much do those guys want to say, I'm doing this because the commissioner wants me to? Because guess what? The umpires are their own separate union, and they're going to have their own talking points with this when we get to the winter as well.
That's a good point.
What are the offensive numbers? This has only been going on for a few days, but are there any numbers noteworthy that are available at this point in time? What's changed the last 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I think at this point, though, it's you've seen the strikeout rate go down. You've seen the on-base percentage go up. I don't have the exact figures at hand right now, but I think those are the main two things that they wanted. And right now, but it's, we get caught up in small sample sizes, right? Think about if you're preparing for a pitcher and you have tape on a pitcher, and all the tape you have on that pitcher, it is the stuff where the ball was doing something completely different. I think it's going to be hard for us to really have a gauge on what this means until we've had a larger sample size for them to pull from and then prepare for going forward.
Cory McCartney, 12:44 on a Thursday afternoon on the JB and Goldwater show. Let's get to the Atlanta Braves, Cory. You know what? Pretty good series for them, honestly. They split with the Mets. They lose last night 7-3. I think tonight starts the series in Cincinnati, and then they'll come home and they'll get the Mets again. So this is a pretty important 11-game stretch for Atlanta because of where they are in the standings. But, they pitched really well in those 2 wins. That's a positive sign.
Yeah, obviously Kyle Wright, getting an opportunity last night to kind of plant his flag for a rotation spot, which we've seen him get a chance time and time again, and he lasts 2 innings and gives up 5 earned runs. So the starting staff had been really strong up until that point. I think about the best thing you can say about them, getting out of New York is that they left there in the exact same shape that they got there, which was 5 games back. in the division after splitting the series. But obviously Max Fried now on the injured list. Ronald Acuna Jr. was a late scratch yesterday with lower back tightness. So there's still some concerns. And then you have the right performance last night. So I think there's still a lot to dive into in terms of how does this team get back on track. But right now they go to Cincinnati in the same spot they got to New York in. And that series really had the potential 4 games to kind of twist things on them. But they'll get 4 against Cincinnati, and then guess what? You go home and you get 3 against the Mets.
The NL East has changed dramatically in the last 2 weeks with the injuries that the Mets are facing, particularly on their pitching staff. The Nationals, who are surging, and that is not even a biased way of putting it. They're the hottest team in the NL and the second hottest team in all of baseball. Yep. The Braves and their injuries. It almost feels like it's the Nationals and Phillies that could become more favorites in the East, with the Mets slipping a little bit and the Braves trying to figure their way here.
Yeah, I mean, but I've mentioned this before. I mean, it's just because of the fact that the Central is so tight and that the West has the teams that it has. I mean, the Braves have the second best odds of making the postseason right now at 13%. I mean, it just seems like the division is in just such dire shape right now to even get a wild card spot. I mean, it just really feels like, because you've got the Cubs and the Brewers, because you've got, the Giants, Padres, and Dodgers, because we don't have that expanded postseason that Manfred wanted and had, gone and negotiated a deal with ESPN for a round before it was even agreed upon. We don't have that expanded postseason. Just the road to getting to the postseason seems so much more difficult for the East outside of the division winner.
Does it almost seem like, all right, so they've got the 4-game series starting tonight in Cincinnati, and then they come home for those 3 against New York. Doesn't it almost seem like if they can just find a way to hold serve again here in Cincinnati, go 500 on this road trip, and then you come home, you get New York, you're going to see DeGrom again, but then you also have the Marlins following that up right there in your own ballpark. And that same weekend, which is 4th of July weekend, the Mets are in New York to take on the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. So, like, if you can hold serve over the next 4 games, you've got an opportunity in those 6 games to maybe gain a couple of games on New York.
Yeah, and then the Braves also have the Pirates, but the Mets will also end the first half of the season with 4 games against the Pirates. So, I mean, those could almost be washes. I mean, it's almost like you're just trying to look at the schedule right now and kind of pick apart opportunities that you think might be there for the Braves. But, I mean, frankly, they've got to win their games against the Mets, and, they've got to perform well outside of the division. I mean, it's just really that you have to hope you get help inside the division more than anything by one taking down the Mets and hoping you can get a hot Nationals team or the Phillies or even the Marlins to pop up and nix these guys a little bit. But they're a long way, from getting back into contention for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. When you look past that Miami series, you mentioned the Pirates, but it's in Pittsburgh, and then they're in Miami, and that's it. The first half is over. But at least it's Miami and Pittsburgh in those final 9 games, and maybe you get a shot.
But the Marlins had their number. I mean, they're 2-6 against the Marlins this season. It's like, what does that even mean?
Last year too. Last year too, right? So
yep.
I don't. Why is that? What do they talk about in the locker room? Hey, it's the Marlins. Yeah. Better luck next time. I mean, how does that even happen? All right,
young pitchers.
You mentioned Acuna. Have you any update on him from the scratch?
Not as of yet. They did make it seem as though it was just one of those. And I thought Brian Snicker kind of worded it weirdly. It was just it's just one of those things. You wake up and it just bothers you, and we'll hope that he's better the next day. So you hope that when they get there, because today's a bullpen game too. I wouldn't even play him today because you have one of the worst bullpens in baseball is pitching this entire game. And you're going against a Reds team, that is in the top 10 in home runs, and they got Jesse Winkler and Nick Castellanos, Eugenio Suarez. Just let him have the day off. We'll see you tomorrow and hope the back's better.
Braves fans, don't tune in today. Catch the Friday night matchup.
With that setup, it's a guarantee the Braves are going to go win like 3-0 or something.
Probably. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
That's how the Braves work,
Yep.
Acuna is I'm going to read his line real quick. 285, 45 ribbies, 20 jacks, 16 doubles, 69 strikeouts, and 250 at bats. Actually, that's a pretty good number for Ronald. Obviously, the Braves need to win in order for him to I think really be a hot name in the MVP race. Tatis and guys like that are certainly up there. But if not for Ronald Acuna, where would Atlanta be?
Yeah, I mean, I loved the quote that Dansby Swanson had early in the season when he was like, we're the just change the name to our team to the Fighting Acuñas, because they really did feel like for a long time this season that's what they've been. While Freddie Freeman kind of regained his composure and swagger. I think you're right though. I mean, it's going to be extremely difficult, despite the fact that he's second in the NL in home runs. He's second overall behind Vlad Guerrero Jr. in WAR. It's just difficult to see a scenario much like Ohtani, and he's having a great year out in Anaheim. But how does one of those guys going to end up MVP when your team is performing? You've got guys who are performing at or better than you right now, whose teams are in the mix. So I think he's going to make a run at 40-40, and that could be a fantastic storyline late. But unless they get into contention, it's just difficult to see him really being a threat, especially when you talk about the season that Jacob deGrom is having in the Southern Division.
I'm looking off camera right now. How many stolen bases does he have? 15. Okay.
Yeah.
40. How many players in history have had 40-40 seasons?
5.
Bonds did it, right? Or
Is
did
Bonds?
he 30-30?
Is he the last one? Bonds?
No, Bonds did it. Alfonso Soriano, I think, is the last one to do it.
That's right.
Oh, that's a good. Did Griffey ever have a 40-40?
No.
Wow. That is amazing.
Jose Canseco was the first one.
What? You're kidding.
Pre Jose Canseco that you think of.
Yeah, pre-jacked up Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
So who you said there's 5. So Bonds, Soriano, Canseco. Who are the other 2?
A-Rod.
Oh.
Uh,
Wow. What a
Now,
list.
there's only 4. So it's Canseco was the first one ever. Then you had Bonds, A-Rod, and Soriano.
That's surprising. I mean, you think about all of the legends of this game over the last 120 years. You'd like to think that it's somewhere along the line somebody had a 40-40 year, and we didn't see one until the 80s?
Yeah, I mean, but stolen bases just weren't part of the game as much before, right? I mean, even guys like Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, when they had these monster seasons, I think, Hank Aaron only had 1 year in which he had more than 20 saves. 20 saves, that would be really something. 20 stolen bases. It just wasn't part of the equation back then.
He had a golden right arm. I mean, he could have had 20 saves. Could have been
that would have been incredible.
He could have been the next John Smoltz.
The first Ohtani.
Yeah, how about Ohtani, man? I mean, what a story. This kid, and I love the video from yesterday. He's just laughing while he's getting checked.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was. I don't know if they understood a word he was saying, but it seemed like a fun conversation.
He's fantastic, right?
How old is he?
24? 24? Is that right?
Yeah, in that range.
Somewhere in there. It's remarkable. I mean, you think about the youth, the
26.
stars.
26, I'm sorry.
It brings up a whole nother conversation, Corey. I mean, we're baseball guys, so we see it. Acuna, Soto, Tatis, Ohtani. I mean, there's a large group of young names out there, some great young arms in the sport. So we're baseball guys. Again, we have to keep that in perspective here because we see it. Is baseball doing enough to market themselves? I mean, they have some of the greatest players we've seen in years, and I don't know that they're. I mean, Mike Trout hasn't been marketed right for 7 or 8 years.
No, they haven't. I mean, obviously I'm here in Atlanta, and there's this, obviously a cultural firestorm right now going on with Trae Young, and everybody's latching onto that, what him and the Hawks are doing in the East Finals. But the fact that you're having guys like Ronald Acuna Jr., who MLB Network said this is the best player under 25 in baseball, and they're in the same city, and one guy's star seems to be outshining the other one.
Yep.
It's tough. I mean, I think you can be an NBA player who has a basically a meteoric rise and it can flame out, but you still hold bigger cultural significance than a baseball player, who could be a guy who looks like he's on a track to Cooperstown. So it's just I don't know if it's about the fan bases and it's just not as cool. But I just always have a problem with that these guys never seem to get the same kind of love that you get outside in other sports.
And to that point, I don't know which pitcher it was specifically who pointed out, hey, Why are we focusing on this? Why are we dropping our pants in the middle of the infield and not talking about Wander Franco's debut and his home run in his debut, the top prospect in baseball?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see. And I'm not saying that they have a LeBron, because LeBron, the sport of baseball doesn't have, I mean, despite the fact that it's played in Korea, it's played in Japan, it's we're going to see it in the Olympics. It just doesn't have that same, ability to latch on that they have in other sports as well. And I think a small percentage of it is kids aren't walking around wearing Mike Trout turf shoes. They're not walking around wearing, the same stuff, but, basketball, you can wear Trae Young shoes. You can, obviously, when we were kids, you can wear Jordans, and there's that part of it that becomes part of the the part of the culture for your day-to-day life, and that's not there. It's just not part of baseball.
Though I mean, if I miss one, I know we've had great players, but if I miss one from a brand standpoint, when you're bringing that into it, the last I can think of was Griffey.
Yep.
I mean, that was it. The swing, you knew it. I mean, the Griffey tee, the hat. Kids were that's what made wearing your hat backwards popular in baseball, well, at least coming to the ballpark. The batting gloves. I remember his original batting gloves. You remember those, Corey? They were purple and blue. Remember those?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody had them. Everybody wanted to be Griffey.
Yep.
And the Griffey tee. Can't swing in a Griffey tee anymore because it teaches you to swing correctly, like Griffey did. Now you got all these kids that think that you're supposed to, drop that back shoulder and try to get it out of the ballpark. You'd be breaking those things all. Maybe we should bring those back, Corey, and we'd be millionaires.
There you go.
I think that's probably not going to happen with Griffey's name on it, though. All right, what else? You mentioned Franco. I'm glad you brought that up, Darren. I think that is a really just a great point, because this kid has a shot to be pretty special. It'll mellow out, but he got that big bop in his debut down there in Tampa. What type of player is he?
Yeah, I think this guy has every opportunity to be exactly what you've seen with Fernando Tatis Jr., what you're seeing with Juan Soto, what you're seeing with Ronald Acuna Jr. This can be their version of that. I mean, just 20 years old, to think what he's capable of doing. And there was a reason that they made the trade that they made earlier in the season with the Brewers. I mean, they wanted to get this guy onto the field, and obviously, that position to play at a high level, we know what that means to a franchise. So I think this has another guy that you can throw into that mix with those three that we constantly talk about as centerpieces for building a franchise for a long time. We know how cheaply the Rays love to operate. I think when you've seen the deals that we've seen with Acuna, Albies, will they try to get one of those wrapped up in this guy? Because I think this is the kind, even though it's not what they do, I think this is the kind of guy you do not want to let get away.
That is a really good point. Sign him early.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he was part of the same international signing class as Ohtani was. He was the second-rated prospect in that class, and they're 6 years different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I thought we would just be on the same train track we were always on with Tampa. Now they've started the clock. Well, you can count on him being maybe a Yankee in 2025, but maybe not.
You got to stop it at some point. And if you're not going to do it with again, I'm not saying this is a generational talent, but if you're going to have a guy that young with that kind of an impact, I mean, why not go all in for once?
Mm-hmm.
All right, before I let you run, I don't know if you can see this or not, but that is a picture that a friend of mine who works in San Diego sent me of Marcelo Mayer, maybe the top pick in this year's Major League Baseball draft, shortstop out there on the West Coast. My buddy, his friend's son plays on his high school team. And so he went and watched him play, and he said he is all that in a bag of potato chips. So maybe he's the first guy taken. We'll see. Corey, we'll let you run on that note. Next week, I want to touch on what we've seen in the College World Series with you. We're seeing so many prospects that we're going to see in the big leagues in the next 2 to 3 years, especially arms. So we'll make sure we jot a lot of this information down and try to wrap some of that into our conversation. But until then, have a wonderful weekend, my friend. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go, Cory McCartney in hot Atlanta, Georgia. It is hot Atlanta this time of year, and Cory is when he's not demoing his kitchen is always fantastic for us. Power Hour up next. Mike Morgan leads it off with ESPN and the SEC Network. the LSU finalists, the College World Series, what to expect from name, image, and likeness. And then we've got Scott Glaze on golf to cap us out, round us out today on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Mike Morgan here for Gamecock Traditions. Baseball is going strong. You'll want to look sharp when you cheer on your Gamecocks. Under Armour, New Era, sideline hats, all with interlocking SC Baseball logo. 18 styles of $10 tees exclusively at Gamecock Traditions. Get on that email list by going to the bottom of the page, enter your email, and always be the first to know about new items as they arrive. You can also add a little Gamecock flair with house signs, garden flags, interior and yard decorations, only at one place, Gamecock Traditions.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston, Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Lowcountry. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
Final hour, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. Download the JB and Goldwater app. It's free, and you can watch and listen to our program daily, and you can always go back and check us out if you happen to miss anything. By my calculations here, Darren, this is simple math. This is our final Thursday in the month of June. So that means that next Thursday, it'll be July. That's what they tell me, July the 1st. And matter of fact, that'll be Darren and I's final day on the air until July the 12th. We're going to be off for the 4th of July week and that Friday leading into it. And we're going to go party like it's 19 freaking 99. Like, right. Actually, we're going to party like Mike Morgan. Dude's always partying.
Hmm.
Last week he was on a lake in Kentucky. A couple months ago he was down like in Miami. Where are you headed next, Mike?
I can tell you where I'm not heading, and that's a ballpark or a stadium or any other sports-related broadcast forum, including this home studio. I'm not, because I'm done. We had a great finish to the baseball season for me, which was the Super Regional. We had the highest rated Super Regional game, which was between NC State, who's kind of become the media darling, and Arkansas. I think game 2, we had over 800,000 people tuned in on ESPN2. That's more than a lot of football games on a Saturday. To give you an idea, if anybody's wondering if the sport of college baseball has grown, you hear all the time how much softball has grown. College baseball has grown too, and I imagine the ratings will be good for Omaha this year as well. So, yeah, but I was a little concerned because as I'm watching your finely produced program, and I'm seeing the distinguished guests, and I saw a bunch of names, and I didn't see my name, and then I saw like a guy in a furry raccoon suit, a mascot of some kind. I'm like, I just got bumped for a mascot. Wow.
You missed yours. You're on there as one of our regular guests.
Right. Well, I saw that eventually. Yeah. I mean, I immediately called my agent and said, "What's going on? I'm getting bumped for a raccoon over here." And then I saw the second page and I said, "Oh, weekly contributor." There we go. I feel better now.
I was about to say, Darren, damn it. Now we're
fired.
Tuesdays moving forward are gonna suck.
What's the name of that mascot?
It's Boomer, because I don't know how long it'll keep going, but we had Big Game Boomer, the guy who just gained fame on Twitter for posting random comparison things. So we had him on just to talk about some stuff, and he's a big commercial. He likes Carolina more than Clemson, even though he grew up a Clemson fan, stuff like that. But we haven't had him on in a couple weeks for he missed us, whatever.
Yeah,
well, I have nothing but love for Big Game Boomer. Let me just say, I am pro mascot for the record. Love the mascots. I didn't know if I really lost my Cume audience, where now it's going to be rodents, reptiles, marsupials that I'm going to take a back seat to in terms of the billing. And if so, I'm okay with that. I just need to know my station in life.
Yeah. No. Okay. We're not going to do that to you. We have had some around here we've been more than willing to do that to, but not you.
No names need to be applied. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Not you. Darren and I, you know how the conversations go sometimes. Well, what'd you think about that? And then it's awkward silence. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll move on from there.
Let's go to Bob on line 2.
Well, that's right. Exactly. All right. So we want to kind of run the gamut with you today, Mike, because name, image, and likeness will be in play next week across the country, and we want to get to that. I've got a couple of different angles I want to bring that up to you. Not everybody's been talking about the same. What's it going to look like? What's it going to look like? Well, here's what we know: it's coming, no matter what it looks like. And so I want to get to a couple of different angles on that with you. Certainly want to get to the LSU job here in just a minute, but let's start with Omaha. I mean, you mentioned NC State, and it is a story, and here's part whatever of the story coming up next. If NC State wants to get to the national championship series, probably gonna have to beat Kumar Rocker after they basically beat Jack Leiter. Not a lot of folks are doing that out there these days, beating both of them. But if anybody can, it might be a hot NC State team who you saw in the ACC tournament, and then you saw them again in Fayetteville. I have referenced you multiple times over the last couple of weeks or so, maybe the last week solid, comments you made about a month ago, Mike, and that NC State maybe was the most talented team that you learned in the ACC. They're certainly proving it now. We'll get to the other storylines in a minute. I know there's a game tonight. Vanderbilt Mississippi State is they're all set to maybe play for a title. We'll get to all that, but specifically to the Wolfpack, it is a story, and offensively, they are really fun to watch.
Yeah, and let me just say, I mean, it wasn't my expert opinion, although I could tell just watching them in person that they're the most talented team. I had several scouts tell me point, because that's one of the things I ask when I see scouts at a ballpark, and in this case, they were all they were where the food was, in the air conditioning room with the food buffet behind home plate at that beautiful ballpark in Charlotte, and they all told me the same thing. It's NC State. We're looking at like 6 of their guys. So while Notre Dame won the ACC and had a very good year, one went away from Omaha, and while Florida State, Miami, and so on and so forth are talented, NC State was the most talented team. No question. Did I think they were going to go on the road and beat Arkansas in the Super that I had? No, but I did tell people it'd be closer than you thought. And if you
especially after losing by 19 runs in game 1.
Right, but you know this, Jamie, and you know this, Darren. It wasn't a true 19-run loss, because when you're in that format, the moment you fall behind 10 runs early, this is why I think there has to be a mercy rule. What are you going to do? You're going to throw out your best arms and go all out so you can have a miracle come from behind win? Heck no. He was throwing out guys that pitched 5 innings all year, and they were just going through the motions from inning 5 on. And I realized people saw that score and they said, wow, well, this must be a mismatch. That wasn't it at all. That was just a classic case. Arkansas jumped out on them, and Arkansas is an exceptional team. Had they made it to Omaha, they would certainly be one of the favorites. But NC State said, okay, all right, you got us today. We'll be back tomorrow. And then they won 2 one-run games, and they had guys step up. Again, it's only a 5-man pitching staff. And timely hitting, and they had that X factor. Elliott told me that in my conversations with him. So, and again, they don't have to beat Rocker and Leiter. They have to beat Rocker or Leiter. They're in the catbird seat. They only have to win 1 game. Vanderbilt has to beat them twice. So look, and if there's any team that's equipped to do that and go through that losers bracket, it is Vanderbilt. I think Omaha has been what I thought it would be. I thought the top 3 teams in that field were Texas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. I thought the team that had all the intangibles going was NC State. And here we are, and all those 4 are still alive. Tennessee was a great story all year long, but you're never going to have me bet on a team that nobody on the roster has been there, because it's a whole lot of ooh, ah, and they make you feel like a king when you get there and you're signing autographs and you're in awe of the moment. But for the most part, the teams that have some experience in Omaha do well in Omaha. Not universally, but 0-2 South Carolina dropped the first game. What was it, 11-0? Then went out there and made it all the way to the championship game. I bet if you looked it up, how many coaches in their first World Series experience made it all the way to the title game? Ray Tanner and who else? It's very, very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. So Tony Vitello, hats off to him. Exceptional job he's done in Knoxville, but they got bounced. And I think it's been a good series so far. I think we've got some really good teams left.
And we've admitted Virginia. I mean, Virginia is a team that knows what to do this time of the year, and they proved that after their 4-3 loss against South Carolina in the regional in Columbia, where they basically made the capital city their home for a couple of weeks, as they've made the run now to Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's either or. It's going to be a fascinating game tomorrow at 2, and then we'll find out who is tomorrow night at 7, because Texas and the Wahoos will play tonight. The winner will move on. The loser is going to go home. But they're State, and they're the Bulldogs. And, so known Scott Foxhall and Chris Lemonis a long time, personal thing for me, so really proud of them. If I'm pulling for anybody, I'm pulling for them. So that's the side note. Here's what people should be focused on. They're really damn good. And they have, Mike, I think you've seen them throughout the season. You've seen them much closer than any of us have. There are some teams you can recognize it when they've got it, and you can recognize it here. They have the it factor. Now, it doesn't guarantee them a World Series championship. You got to have some luck on your side to get, but they've had that. They're really talented, and they've got that it factor as well. I would, if I had to circle anybody as a favorite, I would probably circle them. But again, it's Omaha.
Well, and they've been 3 years in a row. That's an it factor right there, right?
That's right.
So many of these kids have already been there, done that, and have flirted with a national title. And to understand how hard it is to win in Omaha, Mississippi State, one of the most successful programs from Ron Polk to Will Clark to Rafael Palmeiro to Bobby Thigpen to Jeff Brantley to Tanner Allen. 11 times they've been to Omaha. They've never won it. So this could be the team.
Is that surprising to you?
The only thing more surprising to me is that Florida State never won one under Mike Martin.
That's a great point.
And how many times did they go? Too many to count.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very surprising. Very surprising. But that's the nature of the beast.
Let's talk about Tanner Allen. First, we know he's a great player. I had just never really truly listened to him. I'm not sure how much you've spoken with this young man, but his interviews after that game the other night, he hit that home run to give him the lead.
Yeah.
He's a cool cat, man.
Yeah, and he's special. And again, he doesn't fit the mold. If you watched him walk off the bus, you might think, is he the sports information director? He's not a big kid. Not a big kid. He's 5'11", 6 feet. $175, $180.
Whit Merrifield.
That's a great analogy. He is built like college Whit. Now Whit's gotten a little bigger in the pros, but he's built like college Whit, and does not. I mean, he's not going to be a first rounder for that reason. He's not what they call projectable, but he's outstanding. He's just a phenomenal college player. And I would say this one more name I'll give to you. If it wasn't for Kevin Kopps, who was not only the story in the SEC on the mound, but in the country, as I said, he's the best college pitcher. He had the best season of any college pitcher on the planet this year.
Yeah.
Not even close. But if it wasn't for him, everybody would be talking about Landon Sims of Mississippi State.
No question.
Who's actually got better pro stuff. He is ridiculously valuable. And if you remember the game that Carolina won that I did against Mississippi State in the walk-off, which is the reason why if they don't win that game, they're not hosting. Landon Sims wasn't available. So they would have used him in that game. And he tends to shove against anybody he faces. But he wasn't available. And so you didn't have to face him. But when you do face him, his stuff is as good as any reliever in college baseball. So I always love the teams that have been there, and I love the teams that have an X-factor guy a la Price for Carolina in 2010, 2011, an X-factor reliever that at any given time, in any moment, you could throw him out there, and there's not going to be warm fluid rolling down his leg, if you know what I mean. Yeah. That's what Landon Sims is, and that's what Mississippi State is.
Would you have started Kopps in that final game of the Super Regional that you called? Would you have started him, or would you have waited?
$1 million question. I would have started him, but I would not have. And I mentioned this at the time of the broadcast. And Dave Van Horn's a Hall of Fame coach, so don't take this the wrong way.
That's right.
I would not have brought him in the game when they were losing game 2. You say, well, Mike, he only threw 24 pitches. But you allowed NC State to see him, to get a little bit of comfort with him. He wasn't as mysterious as he would have ordinarily been.
Yeah.
That was the move that was a head scratcher to me. Like, okay, obviously if you come back and win it, you look like a genius. But if you lose this game, and we were told he might start game 3, but now NC State's like, okay, I've seen him. And in the top of the first, they barreled 2 balls, a 400-foot out, and then another hot shot. And in the second inning, they hit a home run off him. Then he settles in, and he does Kevin Kopps things, and he gets everybody out. He's just dicing up dudes left and right. Then he serves up the long ball in the 8th, and you could feel the energy of that crowd just go, whoomp. And at that point on, I'm like, NC State's winning this game. They're going to Omaha, and they did. That's the way it worked out. That's what we love about postseason baseball. You just don't know.
Mic'd up with Mike Morgan, and I hear it. These are the best, I think, college baseball type conversations to have. I wouldn't have started him. Now, I'm not saying that they lost because of Kevin Kopps. NC State, by the way, actually was pretty good that day on the mound themselves, and
really good.
Yeah, got to give them some credit, right?
Yeah.
I'm not like you said, Dave Van Horn is a Hall of Fame coach. Darren and I have had this conversation multiple times. I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm some know-it-all over these guys that have forgotten more than I'll ever dream of knowing in baseball. But you saw that there. You saw Ole Miss and Bianco start their closer. I'm not a big fan of that. Brett Carey got the start for South Carolina in the regular season. He was ready to go in the postseason. And especially in the postseason, I relievers, Mike, you've been doing this a long time. You know how pitchers' brains work, which means sometimes they don't. And the last thing that you want to do is screw with what they kind of have mentally as their daily process. And so guys have been relieving all year, and then all of a sudden it's time to start. It's a mental change, and a lot of times that's why you see what happened early in the game with Kevin Kopps. It's a struggle to kind of settle in. I would have Michael Roth did essentially. We're going to start this guy, and we're gonna let him go long enough before he gets us basically beat, and let's see what happens. Well, Michael Roth turned into a legend, so that worked out as perfectly as you could have ever dreamed of it. But it doesn't always work out like that. You just try to steal an inning or two, and then put your closer or somebody like that you're comfortable in the bullpen, in my opinion, in a more comfortable role of getting hot, getting ready, coming in, and trying to finish out the game. It's just back and forth convo, but that's how I would have probably. I think they screwed themselves by doing what they did.
I don't disagree with you on anything you said, and as I said, I could see it going either way. But let me tell you, that decision is not why they lost. They lost because they didn't hit Game 2 and Game 3 the way they hit all year. When they look back, like. You know, the debate, and it was all over Twitter. I mean, I announced when I announced Kevin Kopps was starting, because we got the info long before I guess anybody else did because of their SID. Already people were second guessing, supporting, excited, disappointed. It was already out there. And then you knew, win or lose, this was going to be a second guess. That's the beauty of baseball. But the reason, so that was the conversation that carried on into the late hours of the night and on to the next day. But the reason they lost the game wasn't Kopps starting or relieving. The reason they lost the game is that NC State, with freshman pitchers that, quite frankly, weren't that dominating all year long, but they got hot at the right time. Yeah. And they took the number one offense all year long in the SEC, the team that led the country in home runs, and they silenced them pretty good in games 2 and 3. That's why you lost it. It wasn't because of a tactical decision. You lost it because you didn't hit well enough at the wrong time. And I've seen it happen to great offenses before. It can happen. And when it does, you know this, guys. I mean, covering the teams that you cover, it's the hitting coach. It's this guy. It's that guy. At the end of the day, your coaches can only do so much once you get in that batter's box in a regional or a super regional. And those kids either hit or they don't hit. And it's really hard to predict how that's going to go. And in the case of Arkansas, they put 21 runs on the board in game 1, and then they calmed down in games 2 and 3. And that's where you tip your hat to the NC State pitchers. They brought their best to the table. And that's, to me, that was the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And you could come up with 1,000 different examples of everything we've discussed here. I'm just not a big fan of starting relievers in a win or die game in the postseason. But I mean, to your point, I mean, gosh, I could give you some examples for and against just in this state alone that very well. I mean, the 2000 Louisiana Lafayette game 3 of the Super Regional, Carolina didn't hit. That didn't mean Lafayette was better than them. They just didn't swing it. How about 2002 in Omaha when Clemson was 2-0 and you had Jeff Baker, Khalil Green, and Michael Johnson? I know they had some big knocks, but overall that offense was lethal all year. What the hell did they do against South Carolina? Nothing. So these things happen in baseball. We can second guess everything we want. It just happens. That's the way it is. Yeah. That's what's beautiful about this sport.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like college football where you rarely see major upsets in the postseason.
No.
And I don't even know if I classify this as I know Arkansas was 1 and NC State was a 16, but I didn't think it was a major upset. I saw something in NC State going back to Charlotte, then regional play. They hit. We always talk about that hot team. They are the hot team. Yeah. They are the team that figured out the riddle, that started 1-8 in the ACC, and then boom. So again, I know your audience doesn't want to hear NC State Arkansas talk all show. No, but that to me was that story.
They want to hear you talk all show, and that's part of it. By the way, congratulations to Corbin last night, his 800th career win. They whistled him right to victory there.
Oh, speaking of, real quick question here before we get to LSU. I asked it earlier. I've never been in a Vanderbilt game. I don't know many Vanderbilt fans. Do they like the Whistler?
Careful. I don't know.
Okay.
First off, it's more than one guy, right? I think it's like two.
I thought it was just one. Is it more?
No, there's more than one. In fact, I remember not long ago, the one guy got kicked out, and they brought in the guy number two.
The reliever. They went to the lefty.
They brought their ace out of the bullpen to whistle. I don't know. You know, Vanderbilt's a different deal in terms of crowds. Like, look, they don't have what most of the powerhouse programs have in the SEC. They don't get 12,000, 10,000, 8,000. So it's a different vibe. I'm sure some of the fans are like, well, this is kind of a cool tradition, and it's part of the fabric of what we are. And there's probably the guy that's sitting 2 rows ahead of him. It's like, if you keep doing that, I'm going to knock you out. I'm sure it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. The warm fluid down the leg thing was better though. So let's get to LSU. Let's get, as I know we're probably getting, or we are getting fairly short on time, but I do want to touch on this.
You got a mascot coming on in 4 minutes. You better hurry up.
No, we have Scott Glaze, but he's okay.
Philly the Fanatic is on at 1:35. You better get through this quick.
You'd get bumped for Philly Fanatic, man. It'd be hard to put someone above Philly Fanatic.
No,
I would accept that. I would accept that.
Yeah, no. If anything, it's like Ray Finkel or something like that. So yeah, let's get to the LSU situation here. It looks like we'll put up our post-up careers resume here for 3 finalists that appear to be for this job. Link Jarrett, who's currently at Notre Dame. Cliff Godwin. I'm actually surprised a little bit that Cliff Godwin's still at ECU, and Arizona's Jay Johnson. And I think maybe there are some out there surprised that some of the other top names in the sport might not be on it. I've seen Dan McDonnell. Why is it Dan McDonnell a finalist? I don't know. I don't have these answers, but
I'll give you an answer to that.
But what?
It's the same answer why Mike Bianco and Kevin O'Sullivan are not taking the job.
Because they don't want to.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
Yeah.
See, now in some people's world, you just get whoever you want, right?
Yeah.
And a better AD would get whoever you want.
Right. Oh, yeah.
LSU is the premier job in the country by a lot of people's standards. Yeah. But those are 3 people that all said, no, thank you, including Mike Bianco, who's an alum.
I wouldn't take that job if I was Mike Bianco. I don't think he needs to. Look what he's done. Are you kidding me?
Well, I can promise you they went after him. There were conversations. Here's the rumors. And when I say rumors, I'm not talking about message boards. I'm talking about from competent people that I know and trust and that are in the know. It went from there's no way Sully turns down the job. It went to there's no way Bianco turns down the job, done deal. And then it went to, hey, how about the cat over there in Charlottesville? And in all 3 cases, there's been a pivot.
In Charlottesville, you're talking about Brian O'Connor.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So in all 3 cases, and I talked about this on your show and a number of others, including national shows. Whoever takes that job, I mean, it's kind of like what Chad Holbrook and Mark Kingston have felt. There is an expectation at LSU where every time you lose a series, you're going to be ripped. Every time you don't go to Omaha, it's a disappointment. Mm-hmm. And then even greater when you get to Omaha, well, Skip Bertman won it 5 times. What are you doing? Paul Maneri, I thought it was handled very well by Paul Maneri and by the LSU brass. But make no mistake about it, there were a lot of LSU people that wanted him gone. Okay? This is a man that went to Omaha 5 times and won a national title. What does that tell you? That tells you you can be really good and do a really good job there, and it still might not be enough. So if I'm in a cozy situation and I'm paid well, why do I want to jump ship to go into a pressure cooker situation? And I think that's what LSU is feeling some of. Because they've got the fans, they've got the resources, they've got the money, they've got the facilities, they've got maybe the best baseball fans in the nation. But that hasn't been enough to just get whoever you want. and this is what I warned South Carolina fans about when the job was open last time. Did you remember the names of people that were assumed to leave to take the job in Columbia?
Yep.
You just assume that you can get whoever you want, that everybody looks at that job the way you do. And then everybody is okay with, well, this guy didn't go to Omaha, so therefore he's a bum. That's not appealing to everybody. So I think you're seeing some of that go on at LSU right now.
But the group they've got now, if this is true, and there's no reason to think it's not based on the source that's coming out.
Yeah.
I think they've got a good group here, right?
I do too. No, there's no question. It's a good group. It's just not the group of names that we talked about, right? I mean, none of these guys. Jay Johnson's been to Omaha, and I'm not even sure. I'm not sure if he's number one or what Jay. I don't know what Jay makes at Arizona, but Link Jarrett and Cliff Godwin, I've gotten to know Link pretty well because I had the South Bend regional. These are two primo candidates, and from where they are compared to LSU, it's night and day. But if you're Mike Bianco at LSU, and if you're Kevin O'Sullivan in Gainesville, it's not night and day. LSU, you could say, well, they got better this and that. Yeah, but we got a pretty good here. And we're winning here, and whatever you're offering to pay me, I got an AD who's going to pay me the same amount. So why am I leaving? So I think you've seen a lot of that go on.
If Link Jarrett is the guy, I'd be interested just on a personal note to see if Scott Wingo goes with him. Boy, that'd be interesting.
I can't imagine he wouldn't.
Exactly. I think he'd probably take the whole. I know a little bit about Link just from folks who I know who know him. I don't know a whole lot about him. Don't know a lot about Jay Johnson. Do know a decent amount about Cliff Godwin. I know a couple guys who played for him, and they know him quite well. You wonder about Cliff Godwin being where he is at ECU. I think it's a very respected program, should be wonderful programs. Kind of almost surprising they haven't been to Omaha, but you almost wonder what a guy like he could do at a major institution. But I just wonder if that major institution was LSU, how that would play out. You know what I mean? Like, I could foresee Cliff Godwin going to a Tennessee or not that Elliott Avent's going anywhere, but an NC State or something like that, somewhere that cares about baseball, that has the money, kind of right there looking for the next step. LSU knows what the next step is. They know they know where the top floor is, as a matter of fact. And if you're not on it quickly, you have to, if you're Cliff Godwin and Link Jarrett, you have to almost be careful about this, even if you really want the job.
What's your question? I'm sorry.
My question is, if those are the three final candidates, I understand that means that they're all very interested.
Right.
But who is the best of those three for the position?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very subjective question. Again, admittedly, I don't know nearly as much about Jay Johnson as I do the other two. And ironically enough, Jay Johnson's the one guy who's been to Omaha. But there's a big difference between the culture of Arizona than the culture of Baton Rouge. I think that was one of the points you were making there. Yeah. Again, I'm very impressed by Link Jarrett, just covering him and talking with him, and the job he did in his first full year in the ACC. He wins the league, right, and is within one win of Omaha. And as I told you, they do not have the most talented team. They have a good team, but he kind of overachieved. So he's impressive. He's impressive. But to your point, you take that job and you're one of those three, and let's say first 3 years you don't go to Omaha, I could see a whole lot of, well, we hired a guy who's never been there, or we hired a guy from the Pac-12 who doesn't know the SEC. I could see a whole lot of criticism coming down the pike. Yeah. But look, that's just the reality of the situation. Whoever you hire, this whole notion that this is a home run hire and that's not a home run hire, and again, we are so and so we get to get whoever we want. That's not the way college athletics at Power 5 schools is going right now, because all these schools have money, right, and most of the schools that we're talking about have invested into the sport of college baseball. They don't look at it anymore as like a secondary sport. So it used to be you couldn't even fathom a baseball coach making 7 figures. Now it's more common than ever.
Yeah, will continue to be. We'll get more into NIL next week. I just kind of a broad question here. What are you looking forward to or not looking forward to about next Thursday when this is all in play? I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but what are you most interested in?
It's going to look like the umpires and the pitchers.
Exactly.
I'm most interested in how in the hell do you monitor this?
That's what I've been saying.
And I don't think they have any clue.
They don't.
I don't think they have any clue. You've got Herm Edwards right now, who clearly it looks like a lot of rules were broken at Arizona State.
Yeah.
In the old days, he might have been fired by now, and Arizona State would be waiting to get their punishment here. Now, I mean, you're not going to be able to monitor this.
Nope.
You're just not. And I look, we can vilify Mark Emmert all day long. I'm not I don't know if there is a Mark Emmert fan. I'm sure his family likes him, but this is bigger than Mark Emmert. Mark Emmert is like Roger Goodell. Mark Emmert is not unilaterally making these decisions. Mark Emmert is a mouthpiece for the school presidents, not athletic directors. If you polled the Power 5 ADs, Mark Emmert might have been out of there a long time ago. But the school presidents, he's just carrying their message, right? So to waste all your attention and focus on Mark Emmert as this evil, incompetent boob, and to not think that this is a greater issue. The school presidents have been banking on the fact that it would always be this way, that you could hide behind amateurism forever. And they had it. Like, NIL was the perfect compromise, because it was going to happen anyway. But the money's not coming out of your pocket. If you believe in what Justice Kavanaugh said, I mean, the next lawsuit that comes down the pike, maybe you can actually give these kids a salary, and that opens up a whole other can of worms. Are they gonna pay taxes? Are schools going to pay taxes on athletic department budget? It's not a business, but I do think NIL was a perfect compromise, and they could have planned for it. They could have accepted it. Instead, they, in their infinite arrogance, said, we'll just go to the Supreme Court and we will fight it and we will win. And they lost badly. They got routed. 9-0 is like the equivalent of 72-0 in a football game. And now it's June 24th. And on July 1, NIL is going to take place. I just saw Kentucky has now passed NIL legislation. And all these states are going to follow suit. But we have no framework to any of this. And I don't know how you're going to enforce rampant pay for play. And there's a difference between the spirit of NIL, which is the way the players that are fighting this are looking at it. Hey, we just want to make money off our name, image, likeness, versus rampant. Hey, if you come to this school, unlike that school, I'm going to get you $100,000 endorsement deal. So sign on the dotted line. That's pay for play. That is not good for college athletics. So I think it is an absolute unmitigated mess that I wouldn't want to have to clean up. And I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't think they're going to be able to do it, Mike. I totally agree. I've been asking the exact same question. Darren can back me up on that. That is the one thing that I've been saying around here for a while as well. And I know that you and plenty of others out there are. It's on premise, NIL. Do the kids deserve it? Yeah, sure. They do. But everybody, and anybody who thinks that folks aren't already breaking the rules, they're breaking the rules. Don't bury your head in the sand, because it's happening. But being able to prove that, good luck.
Well, and let me just say this. I don't want to be negative Nelly, so let me come up with a positive thing about all this.
Okay.
It's to what you just said. We know this has been going on for years. We know the premier athletes have been getting money under the table, whether it's through AAU coaches, whether it's through boosters. It's been going on as long as college athletics have been around. If we can set it up to where, they're all going to get extra money from boosters and local business owners, great. But everything needs to be on the level. No more of this charade where, a Chris Webber is getting $100,000 from a guy at an auto dealership in Michigan, but then is telling everybody, but I can't take my girlfriend to the movies and buy a pizza. No more of that nonsense. Let's go ahead and be above board. Let's stop the dirtiness in recruiting and AAU, and let's stop the strong ass offers going on, and let's just have, hey, this is what he's going to make to sign autographs at this business. Hey, this is what he's going to make to be an Instagram influencer, and let's do that, and let's go ahead and do it on the up and up, completely transparent. And that's, I'm not saying that levels the playing field, but it gets rid of the games. And then we could tell the NCAA, you know what, sit this one out, because we all know what's going on. That's what I think you could try and turn this into a positive, in addition to athletes getting more, which I've never been against. But let's go ahead and get rid of the shadiness of recruiting in the two major sports of football and men's basketball.
We'll get more into it next week, Mike. I know we've kept you long today. We'll send somebody over to wash your car or something like that to compensate for those extra
Just send
minutes.
Zippy, the mule mascot, over there for the Akron Zips. And,
no, what about that new thing that's representing the Braves? What's its name?
Chopper? Or no?
No.
Chopper's with the Gwinnett Braves. I don't even know the name. I can't keep up. But I know one thing. One of these days, I'm going to wear the mascot suit. That's what I'd love to do.
Not in Atlanta, I wouldn't. Those guys got to be dying in there.
You know what I wanted to do? So my first couple of years with the Braves, we did radio. I got to call however many games a year, but I also did pregame and postgame. And so I was at the ballpark, every game. And every game they would do this contest. They still do it, I think, at the new ballpark, where the Home Depot, the hammer and the drill and the paintbrush, they all race each other from the left field foul pole to the right field foul pole. And then they allow somebody from the crowd to go in and race them. And, no, the guy from the crowd races the guy they call the freeze. Right. But I wanted to be the guy that I wanted to be like the hammer. And I told my co-host, I was like, let's do this. Will they let us do it one race? And we were trying to get it so that I could put on the hammer suit and be a part of the race where I'm trying to outrun the drill and the paintbrush or whatever else was on. Never got to do it. It was on my bucket list. Still is on my bucket list, but I never got to do it.
I was the River Dogs mascot when I got out of college and was moved down here to work with the River Dogs and had to do a million different things. And I subbed in as the River Dogs mascot to go read to, well, I wasn't reading, but I accompanied someone to some second grade class. Second graders mascot are a very dangerous combination if you are a man inside of that mascot suit.
Right. I would pay for the video coverage of that.
Someone might have it. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be good stuff. Well, guys, I enjoyed it, man. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Mike.
We'll talk, I guess, next. Are you on vacation next week? I can't keep up with you guys.
Well, next Thursday is our last show for a few days.
We'll get you.
Well, all right.
But don't worry. We'll get you in somewhere.
Have your people call my people and fit me in between a couple of mascots and we'll be good to go.
Yep, you got it. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thank you to Power. Thank you to Wando Power Equipment. Thank you to Stuart Wingo of Ameris Mortgage. Save thousands on a mortgage. There's that phone number, 803-319-1777. The rates are going up, so do it now. He is outstanding. There's very few people that you can make one phone call and save thousands. Stuart Wingo, Ameris Mortgage. Guys, we'll see you. Enjoyed it.
Signing off. See you later. Mic'd up with Mike Morgan. Powered by Wando Power, and of course, financed by Stuart Wingo. All right, let's hit a timeout. We'll have about 15 minutes. That'll be fine with Scott Glaze on the other side of this break right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, car lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed-Up.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right. Local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
I know we're late getting to you, Scotty. Real late. I'm sorry about that. We had Mike Morgan in Atlanta, and but we didn't forget about you. I promise. We would never do that. Scott Glaze with StoneO'FerryGolf.com. Well, with Stone Ferry Golf, StoneO'FerryGolf.com. What's up?
What's up, guys? Yeah, that's putting me in behind Mike Morgan too, man. I tough shoes to fill right there. But what's going on? Thoughts on the U.S. Open?
Who won the U.S. Open?
You're not serious, are you?
No. What'd you think about that? Does that lead to more majors for John Rahm?
Oh my gosh, I think that's just opening the can of majors right there. That was awesome. That was really a great U.S. Open. I don't think the leaderboard is going to age as well as we thought on Sunday. I mean, we were having, that leaderboard was just chef's kiss on Sunday afternoon at one point with all the guys that had a chance to win, and you had a who's who of golf basically. You had John Rahm, you had Brooks Koepka, you had Colin Morikawa, you had Rory McIlroy. You had some guys, you had the Russell Henley, who is I would say a veteran on the PGA Tour, hasn't been able to break through. He was still hanging around. You had Harris English making a move, coming back. Incredible day. Unfortunately, some of those guys, Bryson DeChambeau, they fell off there towards the end. And our final leaderboard, has Guido Migliozzi, Brandon Grace, among others. But boy, for a time there on Sunday, that was extremely exciting. Torrey Pines does that. It's going to give us great theater because it is a very kind of stereotypical PGA Tour golf course. We see it every year. That's why it's not my favorite U.S. Open stop, but it does give great theater, and that's what we got. And it was so great to see someone go out and take it. And that's the first time that a player has birdied 17 and 18 to win the U.S. Open since Tom Watson did it at Pebble Beach in 1982. The last time in any major championship somebody birdied 17 and 18 to win was Mark O'Meara in the 1998 Masters. So to see that clutch play from John Rahm coming down the stretch to finally get a major championship, I think that's really just going to take the lid off. And, the last several majors that we've talked about, I think in every single one I've mentioned of when is Rahm going to win his first one. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And what I really liked is that I don't think I realized how much I had liked Jon Rahm until he was making this move on Sunday. And I'm jumping off the couch on 17, 18, making those putts. I mean, gosh, the stones to do that. I was really impressed. And he's going to be a great U.S. Open champion, the fourth ever major champion from Spain, and the first Spaniard to win any USGA championship. So I think this is going to be the first of, I always struggle with saying the first of many, because when we look through the history of major championship golf, not a lot of guys with many majors, so I think Jon Rahm's going to have a great career. And I don't think this will be his last major championship.
He mentioned Seve afterwards, just talking about what it would mean to Seve Ballesteros and of course what it means to his homeland and things of that nature. Let's talk about those two putts. How difficult were those putts based on what you know about what was going on there? I mean, to people like me who don't necessarily understand it, how difficult were those to sink?
Extremely difficult. The hardest part on big breaking putts like that is matching speed and line. There are many ways for a big breaking putt to go in. You can hit it firm and take out a lot of break, and you can hit it easy and it can take a lot of break. I think I've even done a video on that. But when they are of 20 feet plus, it really takes a lot to match up that speed and line, especially with so much pressure on the 71st and 72nd hole of the U.S. Open. You've got to putt aggressively enough to try and make this. He had to try and make a move. He needed a birdie that he got on 17. Then he needed the one on 18. He got it again. So you have to be aggressive enough to where the ball is going to get to the hole and have a chance to go in. You can't putt defensively and try to not have a putt, a knee knocker on the way back if it happens to miss. But on the flip side of that coin, you can't, the position Rahm was in, you can't afford a 10-foot comebacker for par. You got to give it a chance, but you also have to stay in the fight. So extremely difficult. Left to right putts for a right-handed player are usually a lot more difficult to make, just due to the nature of where the ball is breaking away from us, and we tend to want to peak. So that would be if we're over the putt, that kind of peek out of it to see where the end result's going to be. Whereas with a right to left putt for a right-handed player, most players tend to stay down, keep their head down through the stroke. So very impressive two putts there from Jon Rahm, who I've talked about his putting before. He's not a phenomenal putter, but he's certainly not a bad putter. But he hit probably the best two putts of his life there on 17 and 18 on Sunday.
How about his approach shots on both of those holes? Were they basically where he wanted to be on the green, or did he have to make an adjustment up there?
His ball striking was magnificent. I mean, he was melting it. He led the field in proximity to the hole, just under 27 feet, which is not shocking. We talked about that being a stat that he has done very well at Torrey Pines and why the course was so suited for him. His ball striking was great. Difficult front pin position on 17. So having a putt above the hole like that with a lot of break was almost inevitable. Very tough to keep it below the hole, U.S. Open greens. So it did about as good as he could there. On 18, hit a drive in the fairway, had 4-iron into the green, and I thought I really just thought he's going to put it in the middle of the green two-putt, have an easy two-putt, and it looked and sounded like he hit a great shot on his second shot there. It looks like it bled. He plays a fade left to right. Looks like it bled a little bit into that right bunker and was slightly on the downslope. And I was also really proud of Rahm, and Paul Azinger talked about it on the broadcast, the way he played that shot out of the bunker. That was dangerous. When you're on a downhill lie like that, the ball can come out lower. It's going to run, it's going to release, have less spin coming out of the sand. Well, the green was sloping away from him, and there was water on the opposite side of the pin if he took a direct line there. So for him to play that ball out to the right, use the slope, that showed a lot of discipline and then was able to make the putt. He put himself in position to win that U.S. Open, to come from behind and win with his great ball striking. He hit the last 7 greens in regulation on Sunday. So he had 7 opportunities coming down the stretch when he knew he needed some birdies, and showed the patience to do so with those exclamation points there at the end.
They're playing the Travelers right now. We'll get you an update on the scoreboard in just a moment. I want to ask you about Brooks Koepka, though, because the last couple of majors, obviously, right in it with Phil here in the Low Country in the PGA Championship. He finished at 2 under, did fire off a final round 69, tied for 4th in the tournament at the U.S. Open. So, he's been right there the last couple, and obviously he's coming off of being a little bit banged up, trying to rehab from some injuries and things like that. We also know that it doesn't matter what's going on. Is if there's a major playing, Koepka generally is going to show up and play pretty well. But what do you think this means for Brooks Koepka? Obviously, we know he's not 100%, but he's been in the mix. What do you think this means? We got the Open Championship coming up in just 3 weeks or so over across the pond.
Yeah, the Open Championship has the most parity in golf. We can see the last time we had one in 2019 is when Shane Lowry won, and Shane Lowry was not on anybody's radar really to be a major champion. We saw Ben Curtis one time win the Open Championship, and Ben had a pretty good PGA Tour career there for a few years, but it is an event that most of the time you're going to have that parity. You're going to have guys that you don't expect, and it's just due to the different style of golf, the links golf, and the weather and the bad breaks that you can get in the way the ball rolls and bounds, and a little slower green speeds, all those things. So I don't know if Brooks is going to be this dominant factor like he has been as we go into the Open Championship. In 2019, he was a little bit of a factor. He hung around there, and I was actually surprised at that. I didn't think that he would be as suited for the link style game. So anything can happen. And at this point, is with each passing major championship, he is going to be probably a top 3 to 5 favorite. And he now has finished top 4. He's finished 4th or better in 4 straight U.S. Opens. He's a cumulative 86 under par in the majors since 2016. And the next best players are Xander Schauffele and Dustin Johnson at 21 under. So he's dominating in the majors. The Open's going to be really interesting to watch. And if he is able to grab the claret jug, he'd be 3/4 of the way to the Grand Slam with only a green jacket missing, which at this point almost feels inevitable that he's going to win at Augusta one day. So just another amazing performance from Koepka, and the guy, he shows up. He's a big ticket guy. Speaking of Xander, he was my pick last week. He did notch a top 10. That's his 5th straight top 10 in U.S. Opens, the most since Bobby Jones had 7 straight back in the 20s. I talked about him being my pick last week due to how great of a putter he is, especially in the U.S. Opens. However, I must have jinxed him. He ranked, of the 71 players to make the cut, he ranked 58th in strokes gained putting. So that was his demise there, and it just shows you that you have to every part of your game has to be on to win on this tour, and especially in a major championship.
He's knocking on the door. I mean, he's going to kick it through soon. He's just knocking on just like John Rahm just did. I mean, these are, I think, 2 guys who've been bubbling below the surface. You're like, at some point in time, they're going to pop through, right? And and John Rahm certainly did this weekend. StoneO'FerryGolf.com. So let me just go ahead and tell everybody what I've done for them here. I've pulled up future tee times. And let me just go ahead, and Scott can back me up. He knows this as well as anybody out there. Probably the one guy that knows it more than everybody. You want to play golf 4th of July weekend? Might want to go ahead and book that now. And there are plenty of openings, but you might want to go ahead and get in front of it. Don't be calling Stone O'Ferry next Thursday going, do you have a foursome on the 4th of July? Yeah, dude, those have been sold out for 5 days. So if you have family coming to town, get on the website right now. There are morning times and afternoon times. They're all available. There's plenty of times available this weekend, too, mostly in the afternoon, but it's not going to be scorching hot. StoneO'FerryGolf.com to book your tee times. And speaking of tee times at the Travelers Championship, it is really a who's who of golf at the top of the leaderboard here. Kramer Hickok is in the lead at 7 under, and Taylor Gooch and Maverick McNeely. What a name. 5 under.
Great name.
Maverick. Are you kidding me? He's going to win.
Here's an interesting, well, speaking of tee times, Saturday morning tee times are gold. If you like to play golf on the weekend and you want to book a Saturday morning tee time, you got to get on that pretty early. I actually had 2 cancellations. I've got an 8:28 and 8:36 tee time right now this Saturday. Yeah, so you can get online and check that and book that. Maverick McNeely, one of the best names out there. The Travelers Championship is fun. This tournament is always fun. It's on a great golf course. Going to see a lot of birdies. We've seen a lot of great scenes, a lot of great champions. This is where Jim Furyk shot 58, only man to ever shoot 58 on the PGA Tour. This is where a few years ago we saw Jordan Spieth hold the shot on 18 from the bunker in front of the tons of fans in that natural amphitheater there, and have that crazy celebration. So Travelers is always a fun event. Dustin Johnson won last week. My pick this week is going to be Brian Harmon. He is my pick this week. The guy's about 5 feet tall. He showed up again last week at the U.S. Open, but he has a really good track record here. And I think he's going to play well this week. In terms of Maverick McNeely, we can't forget about the Women's PGA Championship going on this weekend at Atlanta Athletic Club. Maverick McNeely dates Danielle Kang. They've been a couple for about 3 years. So Danielle Kang, one of the best golfers on the LPGA Tour, Maverick McNeely. I don't know. Meredith Taylor is going to have to fact check me there, because hopefully they haven't broken up or something. I'm talking about fake news, but also keep that on the radar. Atlanta Athletic Club Women's PGA Championship. In terms of like John Rahm last week, hey, when's John Rahm going to win a major? In the women's game, we've been talking about when is Nelly Korda going to win a major. She won last week, shot a scorching 62. We talk about her anytime we talk about these big events in women's golf. She's probably the hottest player in the women's game right now. 2 wins this season. And is this going to be the week that Nelly finally wins one? So not only the Travelers, but check out the women over in Atlanta this week.
Harmon is 3 under through 6. And right now in the women's PGA, Lizette Salas through 14 is 5 under at the Atlantic Athletic Club. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. Scott, it is National Handshake Day. Nice to see you. Really appreciate everything as always. And we will make sure that we check in with you next week. Then Darren and I are going to be on a little bit of a vacation around here. You know what, though? As part of our vacation, I think I might go ahead and book a tee time with you. So I'll let you know maybe the other end of the 4th of July week. I'll come out there and hack up the course for you.
Love it, man. We got to get that JV golf segment going.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe that's a separate project.
I'll bring I'll wear one of those cameras so you can see what I'm doing.
Oh, there you go. The GoPro. Yeah.
Yeah. The GoPro. Yeah. I'll wear that. I'll put the GoPro on my club head. How about that?
Well, hey,
break it.
We have no limits. We know no bounds.
Why haven't they done that yet? And put a camera on the club heads yet? They need to do that. That'd be cool.
No, you got the high speed camera for impact. I don't care what the club looks like going up and down. I want to see the club come through and make impact.
Can you imagine somebody watching TV who's been sitting there drinking bourbon all day, watching a golf tournament, and then all of a sudden the camera's
another reason not to put the camera there.
Throw up all over your brand new couch. We got to get out of here before we ruin this whole thing. Scott, thanks, man. Have a wonderful weekend again. StoneO'FerryGolf.com to book those tee times. Book. If you've got family coming in for the 4th of July, it's very easy. Just do it now. Get out in front of it. And as Scott mentioned, a couple of openings this Saturday that have popped up, so you can give them a call out there or head to the website, and they'll take care of you. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. Scott Glaze, StoneO'FerryGolf.com. We need to come up with a jingle for him.
You just did.
Yeah.
By the way, happy birthday to Will Small. If you're around sports in the Low Country, you probably have run into Will. Might know Will. You probably do. He knows everybody. Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, Will. One of the great Citadel Bulldogs out there. If you're a Citadel fan, you definitely know Will.
Definitely.
Happy birthday, Will. How old is he today? 50?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Nah, he's like 20.
But enjoy.
21, Will. 21. Great birthday. All right. We're out of time. Past due. Thanks to Mike Morgan, Cory McCartney, and Scott Glaze, and Darren Goldwater, and all of you. Have a thirsty Thursday at the Dog and Duck. See you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.